What's up, everyone? Aaron Nagler here, looking at your comments. It's just beautiful. Look at this. Free agency. The Packers. Who'd have thunk it? It's your Packers Daily Chat at Cheesehead TV, coming to you live wherever you are. I mean, who would have thunk it? You're sitting here yesterday, everyone's bitching about the Packers being asleep at the wheel. You wake up on a Tuesday morning thinking you're ready for more of the same, and then boom! Let's go, people! It's the best thing that came out of today is Brian Gutekunst setting the table for the draft, ensuring that he does not have to reach for need in any way, shape, or form, either at 12 or really anywhere within those first 2 or 3 rounds. It's a great, great job by Gudykunst. Now, as for the individual players and how they'll perform going forward, and more importantly, their contracts, that will all play out. And I know everyone wants to rush in and put on grades of how people did in the selections and who they brought in and who they maybe missed out on, et cetera, et cetera. And I get all that. That's human nature. But you have to let these things play out. I think the most promising thing is if you look at the pressure rates that Mike Renner from Pro Football Focus tweeted out this morning in regards to Smith and Smith, who are now in the fold, having 100-plus pressures of the quarterback last year, just those two individuals, compared to the entire group of the Packers putting on, I think it was fewer than 90 as a group collectively. That tells you you're going to be a little bit more active around the edge, I would suspect, so far, looking at projecting forward what the Packers did today. And this is before the draft. Who knows what may fall into their laps, may come to town, so to speak, at the end of April in regards to putting pressure on the quarterback. Sup, Jeff Smith, how are you, man? What are my initial thoughts? You missed the beginning, Nicholas. This is the beginning. My initial thoughts are Gudykunst came to play. It is certainly the beginning of him putting his stamp on this football team and on this franchise. And I had some people asking about, does this put to bed any idea about Mark Murphy not completely handing control to Brian Gutekunst? And, it's always been his roster. This is his roster. These are his selections. I think Mark Murphy's undoubtedly finding out, as we do, when these guys are being brought into the fold, so to speak. Awesome day for Packers today, very active. Well, now remember, don't mistake activity for achievement. They made some moves. Like I said, the best part about today is how it ensures they don't have to reach for a player based strictly on need when it comes to draft time. But as Gutekunst has said, they still will use the draft as their lifeblood when it comes to constructing their roster. I think what you really like about today is some of the versatility that all of these players bring. Some more than others, but you look at Za'Darius Smith, you love how he is obviously an edge rusher, but can also kick inside and give you some snaps inside. I'm sure Mike Pettin will enjoy moving him around, mini chess piece there. Adrian Amos, he's a very solid player, a really good player. Some of the shine, some of the kind of hype around him was taken away because Jackson down there in Chicago came in and played so well last year. And that's no knock on Amos. Jackson is a really promising young talent. But it's good for the Packers because it meant that the Bears couldn't afford him and they had to let him walk. And it weakens a division rival, so you like that. But he's another guy who will most likely play a lot of the free safety role, but he can definitely come down into the box, not afraid to mix it up, a really physical player, guy who's not afraid to take on guards and centers who are getting out on, say, a screen or a sweep of some kind. He's a good player in space, a really solid tackler, and that's another thing I really liked about the guys they picked up on the defensive side of the ball today. All of them, sure tacklers, something any Packers fan knows is desperately needed, an injection of tackling on the defensive side of the ball. Ha! Big Sam. Le'Veon Bell will sign with the Packers during this live broadcast. You never know, although I highly doubt it. Smith and Amos, the law firm. There you go. I just like the Smiths because now I can use old Smiths covers and album covers from the Smiths as visual aids. Clay, please tell me it's looking good. It's funny how much Clay Matthews chatter there has been today in regards to can they now bring him back. I still think Clay's going to sit out there and try and find the best deal he can, and I do think someone will pay him. Is there a possibility they bring him back on a incentive-laden, team-friendly deal? Sure, that's a possibility. Is it likely? I would say no. I think they want a clean break and they want to move forward, but you never say never. Give me Devin White. Steve, you got to think it's a possibility there at 12. No doubt about it. We have been freed from Ted Thompson's Son of Mordor. Now, that's not very nice. Man is ailing, moved down to Texas, can barely travel anymore. Have some respect. Ted built you a champion. Respect him for it. These are all young, smart, versatile, and progressing players that we got such great value. Gudykunst is the man. Okay, Daniel, there's two parts there. Yes, I agree with your first part. Young, smart, versatile, progressing, I think is the key word there. These are guys who are all 27 years or younger. They're all 25, 26, 27. The guys who have been progressing throughout their career, and you're getting them now as they're kind of hitting their stride, so to speak, hitting that prime spot in their career. Now, as far as value goes, let's hold off and wait and see what the numbers are. I'm seeing a lot of contract numbers thrown around on Twitter today. I've said it several times on Twitter. I'll say it here. Do not pay attention to anything reported today, probably tomorrow, when it comes to the contract breakdowns for all these free agents. Agents have a vested interest in getting out the numbers initially. That's what goes in the headline. That's what kind of gets stuck in SEO for the next couple of years. But when you get down to the nitty-gritty of the contract, how it is actually structured, where the bonuses fall, how those bonuses are structured, what it means cap hit-wise, etc. All of that is part, those are puzzle pieces that all got to come together to form the tapestry that is the actual salary cap and how much space is left, etc., how they can still maneuver. Those numbers will come out in these next 3 or 4 days, and as they come, we'll report on them, and you'll get to know where those kind of fault lines and fissures are when it comes to the contracts. But a lot of these will most likely, now this is just guesswork on my part, but most likely end up being, paying them for 2 years, and then we'll see. Andrew Brandt has made that popular these last few years, that most NFL contracts now are very much, we'll pay you for 2 years, and then we'll see how we're doing. I have to think a lot of these will be very similar in that regard. I still feel it's a good idea to bring back Wilkerson for added depth. He could be a great/cheap rotation piece. Ryan, it definitely sets up in that regard. I think it makes a lot of sense. There's no rush. I don't think he's going to be in high demand. I don't imagine there's going to be a lot of teams knocking on the door for his services. That could change, maybe, we'll see. But I wouldn't be surprised if that was something they did right before the draft. They let free agency play out, see how things fall, and then maybe bring him back into the fold that week heading into the draft. Please, let's get the tight end now, the draft, now that we did good in free agency. Anton, I don't think there's any reason to specifically hone in on one position group. And I know everyone's kind of, they're going to take this guy at 12 now. And that may well be, as far as individual prospects, because of what the value may be on the Packers draft board. But I don't think anybody in the Packers organization is sitting there going, we got to get a tight end now. Or we got to get an edge rusher, or we got to get a corner, or an offensive lineman. Just not how it works. But I will tell you this: there will be a talented player, several of them available when the Packers are on the clock at 12, and I'm anxious to see who they end up taking, or they may even trade out of that spot. And I know Packers fans don't want to hear it, but they could trade out of that spot and get a few more picks if all talents are equal there. We'll see. Where is the Pack looking at now for cap space? Well, nowhere at the moment. They cut Nick Perry today, sent him on his merry way, sent out a very nice thank you message. I'd be surprised if there are any more cuts, but you never know. Coming down the pike here, and maybe there's 1 or 2 more areas they could look at. Maybe they pick up a kicker. Maybe Mason Crosby has shown the door. I doubt it, but maybe. Let's head over to Twitter, see what's going on over the old tweet machine. Justin starting us off with, going to need some sanity today on Packers Daily. Well, Justin, I'm here to give you your dose of sanity that you need. I will say, I'm excited. It's exciting when you get new blood pumped into the bloodstream of the Packers, and I'm excited to kind of break down the tape and see how these guys might fit, etc. But yeah, ultimately, no one wants to hear, well, you got to let it play out. But that's the truth. You got to let it play out. Is everybody excited? They made moves. They bolstered their roster. Yes, very exciting. But a lot of ball game left. Do you have a favorite signing from today, David? That's a good question. Probably Za'Darius Smith, simply because of his versatility and how I think Pettine will be able to utilize him in a lot of different ways. But that's just a very initial first blush response. Let's see how it plays out. These moves get me thinking tight end at 12, as I was just saying on the live chat. I don't think there's any one position they're going to kind of zero in on or focus in on with the 12th overall selection. I do think tight end is a possibility. I tend to think they'll probably they'll continue to look along the lines. Offensive line, maybe there's a defensive lineman that falls, and they deem worthy, maybe they see value there. But you never know. If there's a tight end that's just far and above, whether it's Hockenson or Fant, that they have graded way above all the other prospects that are available to them in the moment, maybe they make that call. We'll see. What players are available that could help out on special teams? Good question. Well, it's interesting because there are a number of guys, I would say lower in the free agent pecking order, if you like wave 2 and 3, which will probably come off the board maybe this weekend, maybe starting next week, next 10 days or so. Cordell Patterson is a guy who has been linked to the Packers, is still available, and would instantly upgrade their return game. He's a name that I would definitely watch out for, somebody who could provide instant bang for the buck if they signed him in free agency. Let's head back over to the board here. The Amos signing is underrated. I don't know. Who's doing the rating? I mean, it really depends, right? I think it's a solid signing, and I think he could definitely step in and make a difference on this defense. There's nowhere to go but up when it comes to the safety position in Green Bay, and I don't think they're near done addressing the position. Like I said earlier, you really like his versatility. He'll definitely be able to play in space much better than most of the guys they've been playing back there the last few years, but we'll see. Do you see us re-signing Jake Ryan? I think it's a possibility, Mark. I think it was Rob Domofsky reported that, they have been talking. I think he's a guy that will definitely sit out there for a while unless, the Packers say, here's an offer to come back home and he just wants to stay in Green Bay. But is the possibility there? Is the lines of communication open? Yeah, definitely. Ed Oliver to Green Bay more likely now? I don't know. It really depends on if he falls to 12, right? Even then, who knows if the Packers love him, if they take him. We're going to have to find out. I know Mike Daniels has got to be happy. Hey, man, how much are you going to love the idea of getting more, edge pressure as an interior rusher? Both Clark and Daniels, all those guys along the D-line, got to love the idea of a quarterback having to step up a little bit more. Put them right in their laps. You got to love that. Adam, Billy Turner at right guard. I mean, you have to think he has been signed to come in there and provide competition at right guard. Right now, I would say he most likely wins that competition. But again, we're in day 2 of legal tampering. The actual start of the league year isn't even here yet. They may make more moves. They may draft. I expect them to draft 1 or 2 guys along the offensive line. And I think it will be a healthy competition. Yeah. Right now, you have to think he's the leader in the clubhouse. Now, again, lots to play out. Things can change. We have to actually see him on the field in this system and see how they use him come off-season training and training camp. But right now, yeah, I think he's definitely your top dog when it comes to right guard. Thoughts on Earl Thomas to Green Bay? Matthew, I'd be surprised after today if they allocated the resources to go get him. Reportedly looking for $30 million over 2 years. I still think the Packers could probably maneuver to make that happen. But I'd be surprised if they went and put that much capital at safety after having just gotten Amos. Again, we have to see the actual numbers on these contracts to know exactly how much room they have left on the cap. But I'd be surprised. Why aren't we furious about Billy Turner? $11 million owed to him this year. Aaron, we're not furious because we're learned, intelligent people who know that you have to wait to see the actual breakdown of the contract. Don't get mad over something that ain't true, bruh. Don't get mad over something that an agent put out there to make him and his client look good. Don't do it, man. Calm down. Have a beverage, man. It's after 5, at least, anyway. I'm gonna wet my whistle myself. Yeah, I'm turning on this. 2 first-round cornerbacks, of course. What are we without traditions? I mean, if Greedy is there at 12 and he's far and away the best player on their board, don't be surprised. I'm not saying. I'm just saying. What's Banky's tune today? Is he stoked or pissed? You know, what's funny is I got to let you guys in on a little secret. Banky is completely unaware of what's happening with the Green Bay Packers. Completely unaware. When he says that, like, you know, the offseason starts and he doesn't pay attention essentially until maybe the draft, he'll tune into the draft, but then, you know, doesn't pay attention again until like week 1 kickoff, essentially. Like, yeah, he'll enjoy the vibe of the preseason, training camp, etc. He just doesn't pay attention. He doesn't care, really. So today, he's been very busy here at LiveX, working, being in charge, as he is wont to do. But yeah, when it comes to the Packers, and I'm over there at my desk, like pounding away furiously, putting up posts, like, you know, adding things to social, et cetera, Corey is completely oblivious. So I'll ask him after this chat. Both first-round picks got a lot more interesting. Brad, I totally agree, and I think that's the takeaway. As I said at the top of the chat, that is the main takeaway from today, is how open it makes things for Gudykunst. He has very little need as far as needing to draft somebody early that can step in right away and contribute. Now, are you still looking for that? Of course. You want talent, you want immediate contribution, that's what you would prefer, but you have now opened yourself up in a way that you don't have to drive for it. You don't have to say, God, we need something on the edge. We've got to have an edge player at 12. Nope. If there's an edge player, if all the like tier 1 edge players on their board are gone by 12, he doesn't have to dip down into tier 2 and say, oh, this guy's really not value, but we got to get an edge player. That's all wiped away now. And that's the most important aspect, the most important thing that happened today. Love the work, Aaron. Been looking for your thoughts on this all day. Reese, thanks so much. Thanks for tuning in, man. Any word on Geronimo? They'll be bringing him back. Is wide receiver in play at pick 12? I guess it has to be if you're talking truly best player available. And again, there's somebody far and away on their board that is head and shoulders above the rest of the field. I don't see who that guy is in my own personal estimation, which doesn't mean anything. So yeah, I think it's in play. I don't know who that player would be, but if there's a guy they think is, you know, there's a value there to picking a wide receiver, yeah, it's a possibility. Thoughts on Lancaster? I think he's proven himself to be a starter for the Pack. Woo, Cooper. That's a bit of a jump for me. I think he's an excellent rotational player. I think he'll be in the mix, and I think he showed a lot of promise last year. But, you know, what you did last year doesn't mean a whole heck of a lot when they put on the pads in 2019. But yes, the promise is there. The potential is there. And he's got a lot of good tape, a lot of stuff to get excited about. I'm not ready to insert him into the starting lineup, but he's definitely going to be a rotational player and probably a pretty prominent one in 2019. Nags, what do you think is the reasoning to make a client look good if they've already got the contract? Because it reflects well on the agent. And like I said earlier, the SEO, anytime it's referenced, I mean, think about any time you've gone back and looked at a contract. Well, what did he sign for? And you do a Google search. So-and-so signed a 5-year extension at $84 million. So that's what you run with, either to Twitter or you're in your conversation, or if you're writing something online. That is how it's regarded. That is in the bloodstream of the internet forever. Whereas when you really look at said 5-year extension for $84 million, become, oh wait, it was actually 1 year with guaranteed money for injury, and then after that next year, the team had a option to an easy bonus structure that they could get rid of the guy and not have to pay him any more guaranteed money. All of that isn't in the SEO search when you look at it. So for agents, it's gold. It's the currency they live by. And then when they're recruiting players out of college, they go, I signed so-and-so for this. I signed so-and-so for that. It's all part of the game. Ingram still a possibility, potential wide receivers to go after. Well, Cole Beasley is off the market. That's someone I thought might be in play, but he signed with Buffalo earlier today. As far as Ingram goes, absolutely, I think he's a possibility. The Packers, definitely, the reported interest is there. I think they'll let him sit. I don't think they're going to pounce anytime soon. My hunch is he'll probably get signed someplace else prior to the Packers being ready to move, but that's a possibility. We need a wide receiver. Remember how last year went? That's absolutely possible that they could either bring in a free agent or draft another one. But I think they've got a pretty damn good core. You look at Devontae Adams and then the three guys who were drafted last year. You throw in Geronimo and Kumaro. There's a lot of talent there. Now, not a lot of experience. And yes, as you point out here, injuries depleted them quickly and changed things around. But it's a much different offense, much different reliance on wide receivers, most likely, as far as spreading them out and using lots of individual ISO routes, etc. You remember, everything we have gotten used to at certain positions, i.e. wide receiver, is going to change in a new offensive system. Andy Isabella at 30, too high? Whew, it's a bit rich for me, but might not be for them. You never know. Geronimo will have a nice season, I think. I tend to agree. Now, obviously, the bugaboo there is he's got to stay on the field, got to stay out of the training room. But yeah, you look at the start of last year, that kind of up and uneven game in Washington notwithstanding, but those first couple of weeks, he played very well. And Aaron Rodgers made it very clear that he is very comfortable throwing him the football. So, if he can just stay healthy, I think he's absolutely in the mix to have a very productive year. Need quickness at slot. John, I would throw on some Kumaro tape from last year. There are a number of cut-ups that will show you really nice work getting in and out of his breaks, turning some quality slot corners around. I'm not saying he's the answer, but he's definitely a puzzle piece that you can utilize. Amos can play box safety and deep. Michael, I think so. He played all over the place for the Bears last year. I think he's, like I said earlier, I think he's much better suited in space, more so than any other player the Packers have had back there for quite some time. Definitely on the roster at the moment. But yeah, he's definitely interchangeable. But because of where the Packers are right now, roster-wise, I would expect him to play free a little bit more. What do you, Nags, think of the lineman from Denver? I think he's obviously shown some versatility. Played much better last year than he had prior in his career. Seems to be an ascending player. I know he was a bit of a journeyman, had to step in because of injuries, but I thought he answered the bell. The little I've seen so far today, looking at some stuff from 2018. Now the question is he going to continue down that path, or does he revert back to where he was earlier in his career? But if they've got the guy on the ascent, that it appears they do, I really like it, especially because of his versatility. One of the reasons they took a swing at Byron Bell last year is because Bell had experience playing tackle and guard. Obviously, they ended up playing him at guard, and he didn't play very well. I never liked him at tackle. I'm anxious to see what this kid looks like at tackle. I've seen a bunch of guard, but can he actually, swing out to right tackle if and when Bulaga ends up getting hurt? I think that's part of the value there. The idea of the value anyway. We'll see if he can actually play it. Can you see the Packers going after another safety in the draft or free agency to pair with Amos? Yeah, I would suspect it would be in the draft, but you never know. If there's a value there sitting out there after a week or 10 days or so and the Packers think it's worth it, I wouldn't be surprised to see them add another safety in free agency at all. Packers working on a one-year deal for Wilkerson. I've seen that floated a bunch around these here internets, but I have yet to find that confirmed by anybody I trust. So, and I don't know where that initial report came from, but I've seen it parroted a lot, but I haven't seen, anybody on the beat or any national pundit and reporter put that out there. Now, I know both sides have said that they're interested in a return, but we'll see. No Thomas, no Beckham. You never know. Do you think the Packers go after one of the Chiefs' edge rushers after today? I'd be surprised. I mean, I can't imagine them giving up a draft pick for D Ford. And, maybe if Justin Houston sits out there forever and it suddenly becomes an incredible value. But I would think Houston's looking for a bit of a payday to try and make up what he's going to have lost from getting cut. I'd be surprised if the Packers went either of those routes. But you never know. Like I said, if Houston is out there for a few days and his value or asking price comes down a little bit, then yeah, maybe they dip their toe there. How do the Smiths help our defense? Well, I'll tell you what, they're good tacklers. Number one. We've talked about that here on Packers Daily a number of times. The best way to get tacklers is either draft them or sign them in free agency, because you can't teach it when you get to the NFL. You don't have time. You don't have the resources. You can't take guys to ground. You can't practice in pads, et cetera, et cetera. Both of these guys are solid tacklers, which obviously the Packers need. And as far as their ability to rush the passer, both of them can turn the edge, can cut the edge to the quarterback, which is something you've seen very little of from anybody in a Green Bay Packers uniform for any number of years. They're both physical. They're both, I think we talked about it a little bit before. Za'Darius Smith, his strength is his versatility, the way they'll be able to kind of move him all over the front. I think you really like that. With Preston Smith, I don't think he's as dynamic a player or athletic a player, but I do think he's a more solid all-around football player. I think you're going to see him much more of a three-down player. But we'll see how they end up utilizing both of them, what their kind of usage as far as what they see as their strengths and weaknesses, and how Mike Pettin uses what you have to think are a number of different combinations that he can roll out there. Is Burks going to have more of an impact next season? What is holding him back? Well, Bully, if you go into any practice last year, whether it was early on or even later in the camp, you would hear him getting yelled at by his positional coaches to get off blocks, get off the block, get off the block. You heard it time and time and time again. And then he got a little bit of action in the regular season, and you saw it over and over and over. Not able to get off blocks, guards, centers, getting up to the second level and essentially erasing him. So that is his number one area where he needs to improve. He's got to be able to get more physical with guys who get up on him, disengage, flow to the football, and make the tackle. I think you saw a lot of the promise, a lot of the athleticism that they liked when they took him last year. They just couldn't trust him to not get run over, basically. So that obviously some of that is weight training, getting a little stronger, a little stouter, but a lot of that is technique. And he's got to hone that technique to be able to be trusted to get on the field and execute what is required. I love when people come on here and try and type, incredible news, this is breaking right now. By the way, I will never, ever, 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 ever believe anybody who tries to break some news in this here chat. Let us all remember, unless Aaron Rodgers gets back to throwing frozen ropes, this is still a 500 team. It's not even the start of the new league year. You don't know what this team is yet. You don't. You don't know what the roster is going to look like. You don't know what the talent level is like. You have zero clue. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. Playoffs? Question mark? Oscar. No clue. No idea. No idea. They've got a good base. Good start. Let's see how they shape it. Let's see who comes in. See what moves get made when the league year actually starts tomorrow. But throughout the next 3 or 4 months. We'll see. Barr, see? Barr to the Packers, breaking news. Except Barr went back to the Vikings after agreeing to terms with the Jets. There's a good question. Will Clay Matthews get into the Hall of Fame? Good question, Nova. I think he deserves to. Whether he does or not, that's another question. I think it's a bit of a long shot, but I think he absolutely has the numbers to do it. And I think, you look at the bulk of his career, I think he deserves to be. When will we see Banky again? We'll do a Packer Transplants for the draft guide pretty soon here. Speaking of which, make sure you check out Cheesehead TV and the draft guide. Pre-order it. It'll be out in a week or two. And, it's the best. It's the best draft content you could possibly want as a Packers fan. It's catered to Packers fans, for Packers fans. You can pre-order it now at cheeseheadtv.com. Make sure you like and share and subscribe and do all the good stuff on social. We do this for you guys, for Packers fans. Show us a little love and like, subscribe, share it on Facebook. Tell your friends, go, hey, these Cheesehead TV guys, they're pretty fun. They're pretty cool. Kind of know what they're talking about sometimes. But yeah, share the love. I saw, what was it? I was looking at some of our analytics today, and, every video for the last year basically is 48% of the viewership is from subscribers, and the other, a little over half is from non-subscribers. So let's turn some of those non-subscribers into subscribers. What do you say? All right, everybody, I'm going to have to jump. Thank you so much for all the questions. I'm sorry if I couldn't get to yours. I'll be back tomorrow, like I said, all week, each and every day. I'll be here talking whatever's going on with the Green Bay Packers. Make sure you tell your friends. Until tomorrow, have a great night.